Voices in the Night, a new season of hope in Czechoslovakia, the promise of a free nation about to be born. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from the Old Town Square in Prague, Czechoslovakia. Good evening. One-party communist rule is over tonight in yet another Eastern European country. 41 years after the Soviets first moved in, 21 years after Russian tanks crushed the Prague Spring, Czechoslovakia is back on the road to democracy, this time with the Kremlin's blessing. Here in the town square, the Czechoslovakian tricolor is up, the candles burn, placed here by women and children, celebrating, savoring, a day of momentous change. Following yesterday's tremendously successful strike, opposition leaders negotiated 2 hours today with Communist Prime Minister Ladislav Adamec. They came out with an agreement to move Czechoslovakia immediately toward democracy.
To appoint a government and a new constitution.
The new government will be a coalition of non-communists as well as some communists. The new constitution will eliminate the leading role of the Communist Party and legalize other political groups. In a victory for the students who led the movement, it will also do away with the requirement that education be based on Marxist-Leninist principles.
Well, I must say that I myself was very surprised because actually I have expected this, but that I thought that it will come later on and that we will have to fight for it.
After 2 weeks of strikes and protests in the deepening cold, Prague today returned to normal. People went back to work and even started their Christmas preparations. Traditions reappeared. In the old town square, they were hanging the lights on the Christmas tree. One shop worker said Christmas will be better this year because people are not afraid to express themselves. One expression appeared under the tree. The sign says, "All we want for Christmas are resignations." And tonight in the town square, students were celebrating their season of hope. Joining me now is my colleague Richard Threlkel. Dick, while we watched the revolution roll here in Prague today, you were out in the countryside.
Indeed. Dan, there are city folks and there are country folks. Country folks more reserved. They don't get as excited about things as city folks. But I have to tell you, where I was today, they were excited enough. Hilove has been perched on this bohemian hillside for 750 years. Solid, sober country people live here, not the sort to go around protesting. Some folks did go up to Prague to see what all the fuss was about and came back to tell the others. And they are excited about what's happening, but what you are seeing is about as excited as Hilove ever gets. What don't they like about communism? Well, says Mr. Morisek, there's too much bureaucracy, too much red tape. They built a new hospital here 12 years ago and they still haven't opened it. We housewives and mothers can't get a good market, says Madame Dostolova. You can never buy what you need. They won't fix up the church, says Mr. Vorel. They've been promising us for 8 years and we could fix it ourselves, but the Ministry of Culture won't let us. They say Czechoslovakia is going to be free. What will that mean? A place where you can express yourself freely, where opponents are not considered enemies. I want new laws, good laws, strictly observed. We must not mistake freedom for anarchy. My generation knows all about the limits of freedom. For my children and grandchildren, well, they won't have to worry about limits. They can do what they want, say what they want, go where they please. We've been locked inside our country for 40 years. I'm going to visit Austria. I want to see the Alps. Should Czechoslovakia eventually become a sort of little America? Mr. Vorel's a diplomat. America would be a nice place to visit, he says, but I wouldn't want to live there. Oh, one more thing. Did any of you a month ago ever in your wildest dreams imagine you'd be here now talking to a stranger and advocating the overthrow of the government? We didn't have to translate that part. And Dan, the Czech people will tell you that in their long history they fought 700 battles for freedom and independence and lost every one of them. But I have the sense that maybe, just maybe, they're about to win one.
Thank you, Richard. Coming up next, Bob Schieffer in New York with the rest of the day's news. We'll be back later in the broadcast from Prague, covering, as we will all week, the confrontation between religion and communism. God and Gorbachev.
You'll never guess what we're baking for breakfast. It's made with whole oats, plus raisins, nuts, and spices. It's a cereal. New Oat Bake, a nutritious new oat cereal from Kellogg's. It's the only whole oat cereal that's baked, for a rich taste you won't find in any other oat cereal. New Kellogg's Oat Bake, the whole oat cereal with the crunchy baked taste.
To leap beyond the world of worry. 50% of the Fortune 500 have placed their trust in the travelers to help provide financial peace of mind. You're better off under the umbrella.
Mr. Khayyam, I hate shaving.
Doug, try this Remington microscreen. It shaves as close as a blade or your money back. No other shaver makes that promise.
Smooth. Now I know why he bought the company.
The Remington microscreen.
Hi, I'm Yakov Smirnov for Best Western Hotels. When we came to America, my mom and dad thought Columbus was the guy who discovered Ohio. So I gave them this free Best Western travel guide. It's full of maps, travel tips, and many locations with senior citizen rates. They liked it so much that ever since they've been in the car discovering America with their Best Western travel guide. Hi, Mom. Hi. They'll like it even better when they learn to drive.
A major battle may be looming tonight in Lebanon. Syrian tanks and troops are pouring across the border to support the Syrian-backed Lebanese government, which earlier today fired anti-Syrian Christian military leader Michel Aoun as Lebanese army commander. But Aoun defied the order and has now vowed that his 15,000 soldiers will fight to the death. In Washington today, President Bush said there will be no deals and no surprises out of the weekend summit at sea with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. The president seemed to be trying to lower public expectations and to reassure the NATO allies in Europe. Our chief White House correspondent, Leslie Stahl, has our report.
Worried that expectations for the Malta summit are running too high, President Bush decided he had to cool off what he called the hyped, euphoric, and frantic speculation.
So the surprise will be, if you're looking for a surprise, there won't be a surprise. That may come as a surprise.
What the president is trying to shoot down is any suggestion that he might negotiate a quick new arms control treaty. But his own advisors are putting out the word that he is prepared to discuss deep troop cuts in Europe and even reductions in strategic weapons with Gorbachev when they meet over the weekend. That he did not deny.
I am not going to enter into an arms control agreement. Now, if we want to talk in a general way with the Soviet leaders about our aspirations for how a defense system will look 10 years from now, of course we'll do that.
Mr. Bush also said he was encouraged by President Arias of Costa Rica to challenge Gorbachev on continued Cuban and Nicaraguan shipments of Soviet weapons to leftist rebels in El Salvador.
I don't think I'm blindsiding Mr. Gorbachev by this, but I will raise with him at Arias's request the fact that the Soviet Union should stop feeding Fidel Castro.
Central America may be the only issue where the president has a chance to look tough. Even if Gorbachev is not directly arming the rebels, the White House insists he has the power to stop the shipments. Said an official here, Mr. Bush will tell Gorbachev, "We don't care how you do it, just do it." Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
The one-time head of El Salvador's Supreme Court and a former right-wing candidate for president was assassinated today. At least 2 gunmen opened fire on the victim's car when it stopped for a traffic light in the capital city. The victim was working as an advisor to the foreign ministry. Police blame leftist rebels. West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl went before Parliament today to present his blueprint for a possible eventual reunification with East Germany. He said the first step could be a loose confederation in which the 2 Germanys would consult on the economy and other issues. But he said the process could be launched only after East Germany holds truly free elections. Senator Edward Kennedy returned today to the scene of one of his brother's most dramatic moments, Berlin. Senator Kennedy placed flowers at the place where 26 years ago, President John F. Kennedy declared in German, "I am a Berliner." It was Senator Kennedy's first visit to the city since he accompanied his brother on that trip in 1963. In San Francisco today, at least 5 people died after a giant crane toppled from a 16-story building under construction. The debris flattened a school van, a taxi, and several other cars as the crane smashed into a building across the street. Jerry Bowen reports.
It was near the end of the morning rush hour when the massive construction crane buckled and fell into the heart of San Francisco's financial district, showering everybody and everything below with concrete and steel, immediately triggering fears the Bay Area had been hit by yet another earthquake.
And then all of a sudden the rumbling started, and it rumbled and it rumbled, and I thought, oh wow, another earthquake. I ran to the door, and I looked across the street, and this building was shaking like we were in an earthquake. The whole dirt was falling off of it, everything looked like the thing was about ready to collapse. And then all of a sudden the crane was like midway at that point, and the crane just hit the ground.
Among the dead were the crane operator, construction workers, a pedestrian, and the driver of a school van for handicapped students. But school officials say no students were on board. 22 people were injured. Many others had their own stories of escape.
A bunch of building fell down on us. The rocks and the glass, I guess, I don't know what it was, just rained down on us.
I dived underneath the concrete mixer, and the crane came down.
The building just swung and swayed, and I got underneath the beam, tried to hold on so that I thought the building was coming down on top of us.
Throughout the day, families of workers stood vigil at the site as searchers cut through the rubble. Police say as many as 5 steel workers may be missing. According to survivors, the crane collapsed as it was being raised to start work on a new floor. Tonight, investigators are trying to find out why. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, San Francisco.
Well, it's going to be colder than normal this winter in the north central, Pacific Northwest, and West Coast states. That is the word today from the National Weather Service as it released its long-range forecast. The report calls for a warmer than normal winter for New England and along the east and Gulf coasts. States apart from those areas face equal chances of warm or cold weather. In Chicago today, there was more surgery for the little girl who yesterday received part of her mother's liver in the nation's first liver transplant from a living donor. 21-month-old Alyssa Smith underwent almost 5 more hours of surgery to stop internal bleeding. The doctor said that such bleeding occurs in about 30% of all liver transplants and predicted success for the transplant. Alyssa was listed in critical but stable condition. After the surgery, her mother, Teresa Smith, was reported in fair condition today. And First Lady Barbara Bush had a series of tests at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota today. She's been under treatment this year for a thyroid condition, but still having trouble with watery eyes and episodes of double vision. That's it from here. In a moment, Dan Rather will be back with more from Prague.
Come on, honey, let's just buy this cheap smoke detector.
But I'd feel more secure with a first alert.
Well, I'd rather save a couple bucks.
Would you trust your family's safety to anything less than a first alert smoke detector?
Chances are we'll never even have a fire.
How do orange juice, tomato juice, and grapefruit juice measure up to prune juice? You get more of 7 important vitamins and minerals in a glass of great-tasting Sunsweet prune juice.
Sunsweet. Here's to your health.
That'll be a charge.
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
Don't forget, Santa.
'Tis the season to be choosy.
La 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 la.
That's it.
So choose the card that actually pays you cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
That's a great idea.
You sure know how to pick 'em. It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
I have great news. Depend is improved with AbsorbLock. And this is your chance to try it, free. Just call 1-800-8-DEPEND. AbsorbLock is a leakage protection system only Depend elastic leg undergarments have. A super absorbent system that locks in 25% more. So if you're not using Depend, now is the best time. Call toll-free for your free sample of new Depend with AbsorbLock protection and get back into life.
Our senior European correspondent Tom Fenton has covered these uprisings all over Eastern Europe. Tom, as the Christmas trees go up, we're reminded that the new season of promise this year coincides with a new era of freedom here in Czechoslovakia.
There's more than just a coincidental connection there, Dan. In Czechoslovakia and Poland and elsewhere in Eastern Europe, religion and nationalism are closely intertwined and allied against communism.
Well, Tom, you're just back from another trip to the Soviet Ukraine, where there were indications again today of how much that's true inside the Soviet Union itself.
It's especially true there, Dan, where Catholicism and anti-Soviet nationalism are so closely linked that they're inseparable. On Friday, when Gorbachev meets the Pope, the main item on the agenda will be the status of the Ukrainian Catholic Church. And there were indications today from the Russian Orthodox Church, which is closely controlled by the government, that they're about to reach an accommodation with the Catholics. This is the part of the Soviet Union that Gorbachev's glasnost took the longest to reach. Recently, in the depths of a cold, dank cemetery, all these Ukrainian Catholics were breaking the law. Their crime was attending a mass celebrated by Father Nikola Kostyuk. For 4 decades, Ukrainian Catholics have secretly practiced their faith in forests, cemeteries, and private apartments. Father Kostyuk was trained in an underground seminary and is serving illegally as a priest.
I prefer being close to nature and to the people, because I know that God is listening to our prayers. The cold and rain really do not bother me.
The inconspicuous cottage at the end of this suburban lane is a clandestine nunnery. The sisters have hidden vestments here for visiting priests for years. Father Kostyuk was brought up in a communist family and was attracted to Catholicism by listening to Vatican shortwave radio. The younger women here have outside jobs, but in their secret other lives as nuns, they pray behind locked doors. The oldest nun spent 10 years in a Siberian labor camp for wearing her robes. When Stalin forcibly disbanded the Ukrainian Catholic Church in 1946, there were mass arrests of the clergy and faithful. Many of their churches were turned over to the Russian Orthodox. Some were burnt and others were converted into warehouses. But the church refused to die. The faithful simply went underground and became the largest illegal organization in the Soviet Union. Now they are taking advantage of Gorbachev's meeting with the Pope and are knocking on the doors of the churches that were taken from them by Stalin. During the years of persecution, their strength has grown to an estimated 5 million. The daily mass in front of the biggest warehouse in the city of Lvov is a plea for it to be opened again as a church. The weekly mass celebrated by Father Kostyuk outside this village church is a call for the Russian Orthodox congregation who now use it to give it back. The Orthodox service inside and the Catholic service outside are almost identical. But the Russian Orthodox are tightly controlled by Moscow, while the Catholics are fiercely independent.
Our church has never betrayed the Ukrainians, never compromised with the communists. That's why the people have kept faith with the church.
But for Gorbachev, this is not just a question of freedom of religion, it's a question of nationalism. That's a problem he faces in a growing number of Soviet republics, but here in the Ukraine, it could be critical. The loss of the second largest republic in the Soviet Union would be a fatal blow to Gorbachev and the economy, but there are historic reasons why Ukrainians long to be free. Last month, the Catholics reburied over 500 Ukrainians who were ordered shot by Stalin. They symbolize the persecution of millions of Ukrainians. Catholics are in the forefront of the independence movement. They believe they will never be fully free to practice their religion until the Ukraine is free.
It's so unjust. Sometimes you feel you would rather die than be humiliated anymore.
Without waiting for the Catholic Church to be legalized, Father Kostyuk has already come in out of the cold. He is no longer afraid to perform his duties as a priest openly. But it's doubtful whether formal legalization of the Catholic Church will induce him or the millions of other Catholics here to give up their other dream of an independent Ukraine. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Sila Kupichevala, Ukraine.
We'll be back in a moment with more from Prague on religion and communism, God and Gorbachev.
Recently, a serious topic has come up at breakfast. Oat bran. But that doesn't mean you have to be so serious. Not with common sense oat bran waffles from Eggo. They've got all the goodness of oat bran and all the taste of a waffle.
Let's get serious.
Kellogg's common sense oat bran waffles from Eggo. Oat bran's never been so enjoyable. Seriously.
This message is brought to you by Maytag, the dependability people.
This is new Hellman's cholesterol free.
Will I like it?
It has 0% cholesterol.
Will I like it?
It tastes 100% Hellman's.
I like it.
I knew you'd like it.
I knew I'd like it.
New Hellman's cholesterol free with half the fat. Bring out the best.
Experience is a wonderful teacher. You develop more wisdom as you mature. You learn how to handle day-to-day problems better, even how to handle the aches and pains of a busy life. The times when the old back or the old hip says, That's when Bufferin is such a relief for me. Bufferin, my brand of aspirin, relieves those aches and pains fast. It helps me to keep doing the things I want to do.
Bufferin, so you can do the things you want to do.
This is Prague's Church of St. Jacob, one of the many exquisite old churches in this predominantly Roman Catholic country, a country which from the Dark Ages through the Middle Ages and beyond was literally part of the Holy Roman Empire. Mikhail Gorbachev arrives in Rome tomorrow for his Friday meeting with Pope John Paul, the first meeting ever of a Soviet leader and a pope. Gorbachev has come a long way to get to the Vatican. He has been forced to roll back decades of Soviet persecution of churches and synagogues, of religious people, and give way to a revival of religious expression throughout the Soviet bloc. Before we came here, we talked to two men who helped inspire that revival. Nobel Prize winner Elie Wiesel has spent the past quarter of a century defending his faith and the rights of Soviet Jews. Evangelist Reverend Billy Graham was among the first outsiders to preach the gospel of hope to Christians under communism.
Just about 3 or 4 months ago, I spoke in the big stadium in Budapest, and the Roman Catholic cardinal led the prayer and read the scriptures, and we had all the Catholic, all the Lutheran. It was the most ecumenical meeting I've ever been involved in. We had 90,000 people, which broke the stadium record by 2,000 for any event. Now that was a religious meeting where I preached the gospel and I gave an invitation for people to receive Christ, and 27,000 people came forward to make their commitment to Christ.
After that, did you find yourself saying, the center can't hold for the communists here, that this is all going to fall apart pretty soon?
Yes, I felt that.
Does this represent not just Gorbachev's meeting with the Pope, but what we are seeing worldwide? Does this represent a triumph of faith over militant atheism?
I think the militant atheism in the Soviet Union, because that was the place for it, also failed. I mean, we no longer hear about it. When a communist speaks today, he no longer speaks about his atheism. Whereas 20 years ago, there was a kind of credo. Just as a religious person says, I believe in God, the communists began by saying, I don't believe. Today, I think they realize that it's wrong. And also what I hear, that there is a resurgence of religiosity in the Soviet Union.
You've been to the Soviet Union a number of times. What are the most significant changes that you've seen?
Well, they're allowed for the first time to import Bibles by the millions. They weren't allowed to do that before. They have also eased the restrictions on children going to church. Children can now go to church, and before they could not.
And young people everywhere, not only the Soviet Union today, experience and reflect that quest, a quest for faith. Not for organized religion, by the way, but for religiosity. Again, maybe because we feel the century is coming to its end. And who knows what is waiting for us on the other side.
Why is Gorbachev doing this? Or does he have any choice?
I think it was going to burst open. There's something there that was about ready to burst on the economic front, on the philosophical front, on the religious front. I remember that when he was over here, he invited a group of intellectuals to meet with him. And he made it very clear that they were going to ease up on the restrictions of religion, that they needed a moral basis for perestroika. And I think that's the very thing that they needed, and they didn't have it.
When we see these pictures of Gorbachev meeting with the Pope, what do you, as one person, as one voice, hope that people will keep in mind as they see those pictures roll by?
I would hope that it is sincere, that it's not simply a gimmick invented by a PR person. And I would simply think, look, these are two human beings there who have been thrust in their places by destiny. Do they realize what they could do for humankind? Each in his own country, each in his own domain, and surely together.
And that's part of our world tonight. Dan Rather reporting from St. Jacob's Church in Prague, Czechoslovakia. Tomorrow we'll be in Rome as the leader of world communism comes to that eternal city. And we continue our coverage of religion and communism. God and Gorbachev. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Think I'm fit? You don't know the half of it.
Mike Garfield for Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
It takes a lot of training to get fit on the outside. But there's another Mike Garfield inside. And to help keep our inside as fit as our outside, we eat only one kind of Bran Flakes. Kellogg's Bran Flakes. It's got plenty of that bran everyone's eating today. Helps you stay fit on the inside. And it tastes good.
Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
Helps keep the inside as fit as the outside.
Deja vu.
You just bought that.
Somebody stole it.
I set down the package to help Megan, and when I turned around, it was gone.
Is it gone, Daddy?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Didn't you use American Express?
You mean that's it? It's automatic?
Whatever you buy with the American Express card is covered, Mr. Wilcox. Even gifts.
Oh, we were counting on that.
Lost, stolen, or damaged, having a way to protect the things you buy.
Morning, Joanne.
Was approved, yes?
Right, and Steve knows about the change the exclusion of the top 10.
This is my husband, Michael. He's under a lot of pressure, but now he's doing things differently. Like taking the stairs, eating more fruit, and cutting down on cholesterol and saturated fat. That's why I cook the foods he loves with Puritan oil. Puritan has no cholesterol and is 94% saturated fat-free. I've got an idea.
The health club before dinner. Great.
Michael is feeling wonderful. And I am too.
Puritan. Make it your oil for life.
I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, how job stress and an unhealthy lifestyle contribute to heart attacks for women. Also, Audrey Hepburn will join us here on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Clark. Coming up next on News Channel 5's 6 o'clock report, another Middle Tennessee town tries to fight off the Klan. Is 3 years a long enough sentence for a man convicted of murder? And Nashville is one of the worst offenders when it comes to dumping raw sewage into the river. These stories and Zsa Zsa didn't show in Murfreesboro. Coming up next on the 6 o'clock report.
I've been tracking it for years, but still, I was astonished and amazed. An Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas album, 90% off? I asked the manager if that was some sort